So we are continuing to follow breaking news about the president's son, Hunter Biden. CBS News has learned that he has reached a federal plea agreement. Hunter Biden plans to plead guilty to 2 misdemeanor tax charges and admit to illegally possessing a firearm while a drug user. This follows a federal probe into his business dealings. Joining us now is CBS News senior investigative correspondent Catherine Herridge. Talk a little bit about what we are learning. So for the people who are just sort of getting up to speed, because this information sort of broke about 30 minutes or so ago, Catherine, what can you tell us? Give us the lay of the land.
Sure. So, Anne-Marie and Vlad, the way it unfolded this morning is that these 3 documents were filed with the Delaware court, and it confirmed that the lawyers for Hunter Biden, as well as the U.S. Attorney in Delaware, have reached a plea agreement in this long-running tax case. As you indicated, there are the 2 charges, willful failure to pay federal income tax, and then the possession of a gun by a drug user, which would normally be a felony, but based on the paperwork, this will be sent to a diversion program. And if Hunter Biden follows the terms that are laid out in the plea agreement, it would have the effect of essentially wiping the slate clean of that violation. What we don't know at this point is what's called the memorandum of the plea agreement. This is the document through which in the 4 corners lays out the understanding between both of the parties. So Hunter Biden, his lawyers, and the U.S. Attorney. This is an incredibly important document, and it will be filed sometime before he has a court appearance where a judge will decide whether to accept this plea agreement. And the reason I say it's so important is the central question here is whether this is the end of the road, right? In the investigation of Hunter Biden and any other members of the Biden family that were doing business with him, or whether this agreement is very narrow in its scope. It's just the taxes, it's just the gun possession, and other items, other potential violations may be on the table in the future.
And remind our audience, Catherine, of the background to this investigation.
Well, Vlad, this investigation began as a review, and then it transitioned into a formal criminal investigation as early as 2018. So it's been running for 5 years. As you and Anne-Marie mentioned, it's been much broader in scope, looking at allegations of money laundering, violations of foreign lobbying laws. That's called FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act. It requires American citizens who are lobbying on behalf of foreign governments or foreign nationals to register with the U.S. government, be transparent about what they're doing. And then also tax evasion. Tax evasion is the intent not to pay tax and to essentially hide the money. And that in itself is a felony. There was COVID in the midst of this investigation, which of course slowed it down like many other federal probes. But this U.S. attorney has been under a lot of pressure to either indict, close, or reach some kind of plea agreement, because I've not spoken to former Justice Department officials or tax experts who, in their experience, have seen a tax and a gun case take 5 years to reach some kind of resolution.
And then what about this investigation into his business dealings and whether or not he needed to disclose his foreign relationships with the Department of Justice? Is that done and over with? Has that been put to bed now, or
That's
does
a great
that
question.
continue?
It's all going to depend, Anne-Marie, on what's in this memorandum of the plea agreement. Again, what's within the 4 corners of that document. That is the governing understanding of the 2 parties. When you have plea agreements, each party may have some wishful thinking about what it's going to mean in the future, but none of that matters. It's just what's in black and white on that document, and that will be submitted to the judge for review prior to this court appearance, which could happen within days or perhaps as early as later this week or even next week. And I would just say the judge has to approve this deal. The 2 parties have. It's unusual for a judge to intervene and sort of upset the apple cart, but it's happened in the past. The judge has to be comfortable with the terms given the violations the defendant is accepting guilt for executing.
All right, Catherine Herridge, as always, you're reporting instrumental in our reporting here at CBS News on this story. Thank you very much, as always.